Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Nazr Has a Dream. Today we'll be talking about how and why I fell in love with entrepreneurship and a brief rundown of what a sneakerhead's paradise is for some of those who may not know. Brief context of where we are right now. I am in my shared office space at Lehigh University that was provided to me through the gracious people of Baker Institute. So I'm very thankful to have this space. As you can see, it has a nice little view. It's really nice. So I'm glad to have this opportunity to be in here, and I'm very thankful for that. Let's get into it. So where did this all begin? It began when I was a lot younger. I was under 10, probably around 7 maybe, and I remember reading this magazine, and it was either P. Diddy or Jay-Z. It was one of those two, and it was talking about all the things that they were doing, and I just found it so fascinating, and I came across this word, entrepreneur. Trust me, at that time I didn't even know how to say it. To this day, I don't really know how to spell it. But it's one of my favorite words because that is what I am. And I remember asking my mom, what is that? And she told me that it was somebody who works for themselves. And basically, ever since then, I kind of flirted with the idea of, being in biology and other things like that. But in the back of my mind, entrepreneurship was something I always wanted to do, was something I was always around. Growing up, my mom was a poet, and we were around a lot of artists who worked full time for themselves. And, I was exposed from a very young age to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I didn't even know it. And so as I grew up and as I started to notice those things, I was like, wow, like there's so many more entrepreneurs and different types of entrepreneurs out there. And why can't I be one, right? So fast forward a little bit to the summer following my junior year of high school. I was afforded the opportunity to work with another startup company through a mentor of mine, Dalmar. Appreciate you. Shout out. Love you, man. And through that opportunity, I got a lot of money. I was paid well. I got a lot of money. So I grew up not really, being super into a lot of shoes. But my brother AJ had a couple pairs of Jordans. I remember he had the 12s with the orange accents and the white and the gray. I loved those. I used to wear them when he wasn't home. He'll be shocked to hear that, but I used to wear them when he wasn't home. But I always kind of loved them, and I loved how fly they were, and all the fly people definitely had on some J's. And so first thing I did when I got that money from that work experience is I just started buying shoes. I bought all different types of shoes. My favorite shoe is the Jordan 11. And so I bought like 4 or 5 pair of those, different colors, lows, high tops, all of them. And then from there, I was just like, man, like I really like shoes, but there's some shoes that I like that can't really get right now. Like I got to figure out how I can get some of these shoes I really want. And that's when I started getting into the secondary sneaker market. And at that time, there wasn't really any kind of big place to buy them. There wasn't like a business to buy them. It was mainly just through like communities on Facebook and stuff like that. And you had the guys, my brother's friend Zach actually was a huge sneakerhead, and so he had a lot of connects in the city, and that was really cool. And so I kind of started getting into it and digging a little bit more, and that's when I started, reselling my shoes too, because I realized, oh snap, like some of the shoes that I got my hands on, people want, and people are willing to pay more than I paid for them. So man, I'm gonna definitely get into this. But in the same vein, it was kind of dangerous. I didn't really tell my mom at the time when I first started getting into it, but later down the road, I told her, like, I would be going to, like, Quick Trip, which is a gas station in Kansas City. I'd be going to Quick Trip like at 10 o'clock at night to go meet some dude to trade shoes, um, exchange money and stuff like that. And looking back at it, it was probably pretty dangerous, but it was just one of those things that was just a part of the community. People in the sneaker community trusted each other in that way. But I started to notice that a lot of people were getting scammed out of sneakers. So people would either not ship the sneakers or not ship the right ones. They would ship a different size, or they would just take their money and stop messaging them. So I noticed a lot of that stuff started happening. So my original idea of a sneakerhead's paradise was a more regulated community aspect, kind of like what we already had on Facebook, but a little bit more facilitated and regulated, so people weren't getting scammed. There was a way to get your money back. There was a way to kind of track the people who, was trying to scam you and things like that. And so that's kind of where the idea originated from. And I remember senior year, when we started school, it was literally all I could think about. I was just like, I really want to do this. Like, I really think there's a market for it. I really think, I want to do it. And so I remember calling my mom during like a lunchtime or texting her during the lunchtime and be like, I really think this is what I want to do. So let's kind of reach out to some contacts, see if we can get an app built. I kind of have ideas. So I used to scribble on all types of post-it notes and napkins and all types of stuff. I just had to get my ideas out. I would wake up in the middle of the night with a new idea and be like, oh snap, like that'd be perfect. And I wrote it out and all this other stuff. And as I started getting into building it with this company, the GOAT app actually came out. And originally I was crushed. I was so hurt. I was like, man, I was late. I was too late. And I was really hurt. And so I kind of was trying to grind it through a little bit, but the app didn't turn out how we really wanted it to, and we had kind of sunk a lot of money into it. So I just figured, cut my losses now. Don't be in your pride trying to make something happen that can't really happen, and let's just end it, right? And so I stopped it, and I took kind of a break, and I was like, is entrepreneurship something I really want to do? And I really had to sit down with myself about that, and I just remember how much fun I had in the process of making an app that didn't even work like I wanted it to. I would come home from basketball practice, eat, finish my homework, and stay up an extra 2-3 hours talking to my mom about how to make this work. And I would think about it before I went to sleep, and when I woke up, I'd be like, all right, did I have any new ideas? And I would go to school, and I would be telling people about it, and I would see people in my t-shirts and stuff like that, and I look back at a lot of those pictures, and I was like, this is definitely something I really want to do. And so in my second semester here at Lehigh, I decided to get back into entrepreneurship. So I joined Entrepreneurship 101 class, and that was a great class because there's no real formal entrepreneurship type of stuff. Like, not in school, not really in college for real either. It's just kind of one of those things that you just kind of jump into. And so to have that as a class, I thought was just so cool. And we would do like these presentations, and we would do all of these different type of, marketing things and accounting things and finance things. And so what I decided to do in conjunction with the class is we had to create a different idea for the class. But also, as my team worked on that in the class, I worked on rebranding and ideating on new things for what would now be a Sneakerhead's Paradise. The original name was the Shoe Plug ASP, and that ASP was a Sneakerhead's Paradise. And now we dropped the Shoe Plug part and just went for a Sneakerhead's Paradise. And so it's come a long way, actually, and we've got very far to go. It started off as a more of a consignment-based model, which is a lot what you see with the GOAT app, with StockX, with Flight Club, Stadium Goods. A lot of the big names are consignment-based stores, which basically is a person wants to sell a shoe, but they don't really know who to sell it to, who to trust, so they give it to this company, and the company sells the shoe for the person after they authenticate it and everything like that, and they take usually a 20% commission cut from that. And so I decided I didn't really want to do that because I didn't really have a big name in the sneaker community. When you consign stuff, or when you can do that, usually a lot of people know you, and you have a lot of shoes yourself. And so after I got rid of all my shoes to try to help fund the first version of the Sneakerheads Paradise, I was kind of like, consignment may not really be the way to go. Like, what is another way to kind of enter into this market that hasn't really been done before? And I remember I was watching Netflix, and I was just like, oh, it's really cool how we can pay a subscription and kind of pick anything that we want to watch. And then it was like light bulbs went off on my head, and I was like, wait, this could be really cool. And so that's how I kind of came up with the idea for a Sneakerheads Paradise to what it is now. That also happened during the summer, which I was attending the hatchery program, which was put on by the Baker Institute, who also gave me this office, as I mentioned before. And that was like a 12-week program in the summer where all I did from 9 to 5 was work on my idea. And that summer I was like, yeah, like this is 100% what I want to do, because I woke up and I just got to work on my ideas. And and not to make it seem like, oh, like working for people is bad. Like, we have to have people to work for other people. That's just how life works. But for me, like, being able to have like 100% say so in what I wanted things to look like, what I wanted things to say, all that type of stuff. It was just a different type of freedom that I really enjoyed, and a different type of creation that I wasn't really expecting at first. I also tell people too that I grew, like I said, I grew up around a lot of artists, a lot of musicians, stuff like that, but I never really committed to one. I never really committed to learning how to paint or anything, or how to draw, or learning how to play an instrument. So to me, I really feel like entrepreneurship is my artistry, is my art, because that creative process is just the same as making a song, as drawing a painting. It's a little bit longer too. It's a lot longer, and you have to think a little bit more strategic about it, and you have to plan your steps out a little more carefully. But it's creation all the same. And I think that is also one of the things that really drew me to entrepreneurship, because I felt that it was art. And so, that's just kind of my story and how I fell into this, and everything like that. And so, yeah, I'm just excited for where I'm at right now. 2019, as you guys may be able to tell, is going to be huge for me. I've started this vlog, which was a big step. I've been thinking about doing this for a while. My mom and I have talked about not only doing a vlog, but possibly writing a book together about our life and stuff like that. And so I just kind of want to share pieces of me, to the community, and try to give advice on things and all types of stuff like that. So, yeah, so that'll wrap it up for this week. I don't really have a topic for next week yet, but if anybody has any ideas, please send them my way. I'll definitely look at them and be sure to answer them on the next vlog. But I hope you enjoy.